Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are featuring this. This action figure is from the Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins line. It is not to be confused with the G.I. Joe Classified series. The Origins line is kind of like their budget toy line, and unlike the Classified series, these action figures are slightly shorter than 6 inches. They kind of fall anywhere between 5 to 5.5 inches. They're priced a lot differently also, whereas the Classified series might run you anywhere between $19.99 to maybe like $22. These Origin figures, they're about $9.99 to about $10.99. I got this one at my local Target for about $10.99, and I'm really excited to check out this action figure. This Scarlett in particular has been on my radar for a while now, and I've just been kind of like counting down the days until it came out. Truth be told, this Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins line is actually one of my favorite toy lines right now. For one, it's very affordable. Unlike the Classified series, those are about 20 bucks. This is like half the price. And you get all these wonderful accessories. The figures are well articulated. The sculpting is superb. The paint application is very decent, but overall, I think these are very clean, well thought out, and detailed action figures. And in many ways, every time I've reviewed one of these budget G.I. Joe figures, they've really exceeded my expectations, and I really feel like that's going to be the case with this one also. It's nice to be getting this figure because so far we've gotten the Baroness, we've gotten 2 different versions of Snake Eyes, and we've also gotten Storm Shadow. And also at the stores right now, there's also the 2 vehicles. There's the Storm Shadow with the motorcycle and the Snake Eyes with the motorcycle. Those 2 vehicles I have yet to still buy. I've been eyeing them, but I just can't pull the trigger on them right now. Maybe in the future, if there's a price drop, I might consider it. But I think for the price, I think it's pretty decent. I think they're like $22, and you get a motorcycle and an action figure. So I think that's kind of a great deal. But, they're action figures that I already kind of have. I think there might be some retooling, maybe with the legs and, slight paint variations. But otherwise, it's kind of, they feel very been there, done that, so I might get those down the road. But enough about that. Let's just come back to Scarlett. So yeah, we have the Scarlett here, and I'm really excited to check this figure out. When I first saw these figures revealed online, maybe like a year ago or 9 months ago or whatever it was, at first I thought this budget line was going to be like a 3 3/4 line. The smaller, like traditional G.I. Joe figures. I didn't know that they'd be this weird, like, in-between size. It's not necessarily the same size as a Classified, but it's bigger than the 3 3/4 figures. These action figures fall more in line with, like, the other Hasbro budget figures. Like, there's currently the budget Spider-Man line. And before that, there was, like, the Avengers Mech Strike line. So this figure kind of falls within that scale and price range. And it looks wonderful. I love the package design for the Origins Snake Eye stuff. The red, the black. It really screams at you in the aisle. It's loud. It's designed well. I love the window and how it frames all these wonderful accessories. Like for a budget figure, you're getting a lot here. You're getting a bow and arrow. You're getting a crossbow. A couple of knives. And over here we see the play feature. It looks like the figure is spring-loaded at the waist, much like the other figures. On the back, I've said this before, I think these might be renders. I don't think this is actual fig photography because it's so clean. And nowadays with computer technology, a lot of toys are designed on the computer. They're not necessarily hand-sculpted like they used to be. So this might actually be a render of the figure, not the figure itself. It'd be nice if we had a bio card on the back, but you get what you get. So yeah, really excited. It looks great. So let's take out Scarlett. All right, so first impressions of this action figure while she's still in the tray. Very, very impressed. I love the color scheme. I love the fact that her uniform is predominantly like this dark navy blue with the yellow armor. I wasn't too fond of how they kind of broke up her colors in the Classified series. Like with Classified series, we saw two different releases. There was the initial release, and that kind of had like the gold armor with the neon blue. And then there was some fan backlash with the first wave, so Hasbro went back and kind of re-released the original wave of figures, but gave them kind of a much more muted color scheme. And truth be told, I might fall into the minority, but I really enjoyed the first wave as they were. It didn't bother me too much with the gold and the neon and all that. And I didn't really find it necessary to buy the second versions. Because I mean they looked all right, but it wasn't that drastic a change where for me it didn't warrant buying another set of those figures. But this one, I'm all on board. I think this color scheme works really well. So since this is a budget action figure, it's going to have a much more limited color palette. You know, it's not going to have as many paint applications as a Classified series. And for me, that's okay. When I think of Scarlett, I don't think of her as being this like super, you know, bright, colorful character. I mean, of course, she does have the yellow and the red, but I think this color scheme is very, it's kind of a minimalist, but it fits her uniform. So I think right now, just checking it out, I think the color scheme for me works really well. Already, I could tell that the details, they're sculpted really, really nice. There's some hard edges here. The definition's nice and crisp. She has a lot of cool accessories, so I'm excited to check that out. So yeah, let's take her out and get this started. Wonderful figure. Really, really digging this. So one of the issues people had with the Classified series figure was her face. They felt that the Scarlett head sculpt on the Classified series figures made her look too young. You know, she looked more like a teenager or a young adult than actually like a, you know, a grown woman. This figure, it seems like they kind of listened to that, and it's not that she looks older than the initial Classified series figure, but I think some people might think she still looks a little bit young. But to be honest, I don't have an issue with that. The lines on her face and on her cheek are a little bit more prevalent, so she does look a little bit older. I do like her hair sculpt a lot. Even though she has the ponytail, you know, if you covered up the ponytail, this, to me, looks very much more reminiscent of the original Scarlett figure from the 80s. And I dig that a lot. And it's really nice right now from what I'm handling. So yeah, I mean, don't sleep on this line of action figures. You know, just because they're budget and they're slightly smaller than the Classified series figures doesn't mean they're any less quality. This figure is great. The articulation's nice. Yeah, this is a great figure. So I'm kind of having a little bit of issue here because the leg joints are pretty tight. It's ball jointed, but I think after a while I could probably get them loosened up a little bit just by moving them around. Yeah, I think for me it's always there's always that fear that, you know, the joints are so tight that you're gonna actually like tear or rip the peg, but I guess I'd rather have it be a little too tight than too loose. All right, so let's set this down for a second. Take a look at her accessories. All right, she has a bow, which is cool. It's kind of weird because they gave her a bow, but there's actually no quiver with like arrows. So it's kind of weird that she's absent having arrows. This is really nice. So this is her weapon. And from what it looks like is you could take the bow and arrow, or I mean you could take the bow. And so here's the handle right here. And then there's if you look here, there's like a notch there, and you can clip this in. And then an instant crossbow. It's a little wide. I mean, it's truth be told, it's extremely wide. This looks more like Chewbacca's bowcaster from Star Wars than like a normal crossbow. But I think it makes her look even more badass to wield such a crazy looking weapon. One thing I do really appreciate the fact is that the actual weapon itself, I love the fact that it has this like yellow on it. It's not just, it's just not entirely black. And I think that's a cool thing. It makes it look, I don't know, it makes it look like a serious like firearm. And it reminds me so much of like a weapon you might find like in the video game like Borderlands or something. And I have like I can really appreciate the fact that they're like, adding this extra detail, because you buy like some Marvel Legends, some G.I. Joe Classified series, and the weapons, they're always just very monotone. They might just be the plain black or brown that they're sculpted in. But here it's cool that they took the time out to actually paint this, and this is a budget figure. And I love painted weapons. It's something I'm seeing in the Hasbro Fortnite series of action figures, and I think for a $10 Joe figure, it's awesome. And the fact that you could clip this in and create a crossbow, it's just awesome. There's multi-functionality. You have two weapons. You can either just have the crossbow. Actually, you may have three weapons. You can either have the crossbow, the bow, or if you want, you could pretend this is some sort of like, automatic, machine gun or something. Okay, so this figure is labeled as being a Ninja Strike figure. And it's something I never understood, even in like the fiction, like in the comic books and in the cartoon. I never understood why they felt the need to like branch out some of the characters and have like Ninja Force and have like, certain characters all of a sudden like be martial artists. Like I had no problem with Scarlett just being Scarlett, but at some point in time they felt the need to like make her a ninja also. And it doesn't bother me too much. It just seems kind of weird. But nonetheless, we're getting these two really cool cleavers. They're too thick to be daggers, and what's even crazier is that there's some really, really fine detail that's sculpted, on the blades. If you look, at first I thought it was like maybe some sort of like mold defect, like when they casted the plastic, but it actually looks like a really well sculpted design. So it's crazy that on a budget figure that, for one, we're getting painted weapons, and then we're getting these really, really fine sculpted, like, knife blades. It's ridiculous. Like, there's a clean handle here, nice, sharp details, an incredible texture and pattern on the blades. It's really impressive. And what's even cooler is that, alright, so back to this, there's clips on the side. So again, you can store these weapons on here and more multi-functionality. And it's one of the things I like the most about like some action figures is that when they give you lots of accessories, but they give you the option of being able to store it on the, either on the character or onto another accessory. So here it's kind of crazy. It's almost like a bayonet kind of deal. And then you take this and clip it in, and then you have one serious looking weapon here. So yeah, don't sleep on this figure. I know it's a slightly smaller figure than the Classified Series one, but the argument could be made that it's Scarlett. She might have a smaller frame, be a shorter character than the other Joes. If you want, you can even say that maybe this is a much younger version of the Classified Series figure. This might be like Scarlett Year 1. In terms of articulation, her head rotates, arms rotate, and they go out. There is no bicep swivel, but there's an elbow bend with an elbow swivel. As I mentioned before, her waist is spring-loaded, so she has that play feature. Her legs could kick out. They could kick up. Even mine's a little tight, so I don't want to necessarily force it. But trust me, her legs kick forward. Let me see if I can like at least twist it out. So yeah, you're gonna get about like that much. I think on both legs. So the reason why I'm rotating the leg like this, because I kind of feel like if I rotated it straight up like this, it's gonna put some stress on this leg peg right there, and it, as I mentioned, mine's it's really tight, so I don't want to risk stressing it out or breaking it. I think after a while it'll loosen up, but for now I'm just gonna play it safe. You know, my story. This was the only figure they had, so I don't want to risk. I don't want to run the risk of accidentally breaking it until I can find like another one. This is a figure I wouldn't mind actually having another one, because I think the possibilities for customs is really high on this figure, especially like with repaints. I think there's some great opportunities to like repaint this and make it into like different characters. Her knee bends, knee swivel, which is nice. There is no ankle articulation. As I mentioned before, the sculpting is really well done. Nice face sculpt. In terms of the paint application on her face, her lips are much more of a natural color. It doesn't really look like she has any lipstick on, which is alright. Again, really well done sculpting on the uniform. The body armor is great. Nice texturing. Great figure all around. Very impressive. Since we're on the subject of Scarlett, let's bring out some of the other figures. Okay, so let's compare her to, everyone's been wondering, how does she compare to like classified Scarlett? Right, so here's my classified Scarlett, and I've mentioned this in videos before. For some odd reason, over time, so this figure is like over a year old already, and for some bizarre reason, like I've rarely handled it, but all of a sudden she's just getting all wonky and loose like this. I don't know if that's just the plastic over time just expanding or contracting or whatever, but it doesn't feel as, the figure doesn't feel as like tight at the joints as it used to be. Now here's the face. Some people said that she looked too young. It didn't bother me that much. So there's the face comparison. This one has much more prominent cheeks. Her head's a little bit more almond shaped. Her facial features are a lot more defined. So in some ways it sounds like they were listening to the fans, and it gave us a slightly older looking face sculpt, but it's debatable. Some people might feel that this looks younger than this one, but I kind of think that falls more in the realm of like the paint application. Like I think if they gave this figure like redder lips and maybe like some eyeshadow, she'd look a little bit older, but I don't know. Now height wise, this figure is going to be a lot shorter. As you can see here, it's about, I'd say about 1/4 of an inch shorter than the classified series one, and this is a short figure to begin with. But I do think you could kind of like blend this in with your classified series figure if you're not too much of a stickler. In terms of the body armor, I actually like this one more. This looks much more video gamey in a sense. It's kind of like that futuristic kind of like body armor. This one looks cool too. This is kind of more futuristic also, but I kind of like this one. The armor just looks more angular. It's a little bit more crisp in the details. I wasn't too keen on this one, how, her upper body and then was one color, but then her lower torso, like her pants, was a different color. For me, I think Scarlett should always be more like one color in terms of her main uniform. Like I like how this one's all blue with the yellow body armor. I don't like how this is broken up into like, her upper torso and her lower torso. But it's still a great figure. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on this. I like this figure a lot. But for this one, I just like the color scheme on this figure a lot. It's nice because they're completely two different figures. Like the Storm Shadow figure kind of had some, like, the budget Storm Shadow figure had some elements that were pulled from the Classified Series 1. So it's not like you were getting the exact same figure, but there were some echoes of the other figure. Whereas this one, feels like a completely new redesign. And I like the color scheme a lot. I like the fact that the belt buckle and the holster is more like a brown. It's more of like a leather, whereas this one's just black. I'd be curious to do a head swap and to see how this one looks on there, but this head's kind of tight. I don't want to force it out right now. Okay, so we have Scarlett. Here is the budget Baroness figure. Again, I love this figure. Really well done. And it's surprising because Scarlett is taller than the Baroness, it looks like. Or no, I take it back. They're roughly the same height. It's weird because from the side, they look like they're the same height. But then from the front, Scarlett looks a little bit taller. Just by a little. But again, this is an excellent figure. If you don't have this figure, go out and get it. You won't regret it. It's really cool. I like the fact that she's not all black like the Baroness is traditionally. This one, she almost looks like she's wearing the colors of like Cobra Infantry, and I don't know. I think it looks really cool. And just for the hell of it, here's this is kind of like a silly Scarlett. I kind of just like messed around with. So I had this spare Black Widow figure. This is from the movie Black Widow. And then I thought it'd be fun just to like swap on the Scarlett Johansson head onto the Scarlett body. And I think it's a great fit. You know, if you didn't like the head on this one, you know, just get a Black Widow head and slap it on. And you get a much more older looking Scarlett. I love the shade of red. It blends in really well, especially with the red trim on her pants. So this is an option. You know, if you're not keen on the head on this one, you know, use the Scarlett Johansson head. It looks pretty neat. And again, it's crazy. Like, we're talking about the crossbow. So here's the Classified Series crossbow. As you can see, it's kind of small and compact. Whereas the G.I. Joe Origins crossbow, it's friggin' ginormous. It's like Chewbacca's bowcaster. So, really, really cool. Okay, so how do I rate this figure numerically? All right, I'm gonna sound a little bit generous, but I'm gonna say this is a clean, even 10. I know it's probably like, you know, too high of a rating, but for me, I think this figure's perfect. For one, it's affordable. You know, this figure is $10.99, and the amount of accessories they got with it, it's very, very plentiful, and they're all awesome. You know, you get a bow, you get 2 knives, and then you get this crazy looking gun, which serve many different purposes. You know, you can either keep it as a gun, make it a crossbow, you know, add some knives to it, turn it into something completely different. The only thing that surprises me is that they didn't give you any arrows or a quiver with arrows. You know, it seems kind of weird that she has a bow but no arrows. But I can live with that. Unfortunately, this figure doesn't have any sort of like backpack. But, you know, if you wanted to, I don't know if it'll fit. Let's take this off. If you want, you could just take the quiver off of the Classified Series figure, and maybe you could like get it on this figure. And then that solves our dilemma. You know, now she has arrows. And it's a decent fit. It's a nice tight fit. The knife blade goes over her chest pretty well. It's nice and snug. It's not gappy at all, which is surprising. So yeah, now we have the complete figure. You know, she has arrows, she has a bow. This weapon looks great on the Classified Series figure, you know, with the yellow. And if you want, you can give her the knives. So yeah, it's great. I think you definitely need this figure if you have this one. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much perfect figure in my opinion. It's affordable, it's Scarlett, it's a version of Scarlett that I kind of wanted. It kind of feels, color scheme wise, it feels more like the original, like OG figure to me than this one did. Yeah, so I'm really hoping they continue with this G.I. Joe Origins line of action figures. Like, I know it was more so just because of the Snake Eyes movie, but if Hasbro can continue to give us more like budget Joes at $10.99 with multiple accessories, really well done sculpting, and they could hit us with some of the more like iconic characters at least before they close the series out. I'd really appreciate that, because right now it's strictly just the ninjas right now. You have Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, a couple of ninjas, Scarlet, and the Baroness. For me, I would love to see Zartan in this toy line. I'd love to see the some of the other characters like Duke, Cobra Commander, Destro would be awesome. So, fingers crossed, but, if this is it, at least it was a nice, fun run of like, half a dozen figures. Alright, so let's close this video out. Once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, take care of yourself, be safe, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. I'm like losing my voice right now. All right, talk to you later.